Hey everybody, welcome to the Service All Stars YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the importance of static pressure and how important static pressure is to these systems that are installed in your businesses and your homes that provide you the comfort that you deserve. Where we're going to start off is, what is static pressure? So static pressure is pressure that accumulates from the movement of the motor, airflow as the air gets sucked into the motor and then going forward out into the ductwork. It's all pressurized air, whether it's negative pressure or positive pressure. It varies between systems. But what happens with static pressure is that if the static pressure is too high, your system is not going to operate at optimal levels. And what you're going to have is a system that works but really doesn't perform. And so improper static pressure is 90% of all homes out there, wherever HVAC is installed really is lacking from high static pressure. And what we like to say is that static pressure is like the blood pressure of a human body. So static pressure and blood pressure can be related very easily. So when you go to a doctor, the first thing they check is your blood pressure. And same thing with our technicians. The first thing they check is static pressure when they start to diagnose a system. And the reason is that if the static pressure is off, then everything else is going to be off as well. So we want to dial in the static pressure before we do anything else. And so our guys use sophisticated tools and equipment to find out what the static pressure is. Now, in an HVAC system, there's multiple static pressure values. There's the return plenum static pressure, the supply plenum static pressure, and then there's also the total static pressure. This total static pressure is actually our concern when it comes to, showing it to the client, like, hey, your total static pressure is very high. And so the equipment is rated for 0.5 water inches of column when it comes to static pressure. Most of these systems are running at 0.8, 1.0, and even above that. What ends up happening is that the wear and tear on the system, the longevity or the lifespan of the system actually gets shortened because static pressure is not where it needs to be. So 0.5 is your max design pressure. That's not where you want to operate at. And the reason is that, it's like saying, would you be driving your car at max speed, right? No, you don't drive your car at max speed. If you did, you die, right? And so same thing with the system. The system doesn't need to operate at max speed or max design pressure rather. Where we want to be is around 2.2 or 0.3 in water column inches. So common causes of high static pressure could be a dirty filter, and people don't change their filter all the time. If you have pets, you should be changing your filter even more than normal. So one thing that static pressure also affects is your energy bills. If you have high static pressure, then your energy bills are going to be higher than normal. We really focus on making sure that client systems that they're buying, because a lot of clients, why do they buy new systems, right? It's to gain efficiency. The efficiency standard for SEER 2 right now is 14.3, and some clients of ours are buying 18 and 20 SEER systems. But just because you bought a system that should be operating at high efficiency, 18 or 20 SEER, doesn't mean that's what you're going to get out of it. If the system is not installed properly, and when I say properly, I don't mean, just setting the boxes or the units the way that, it looks nice and fancy. But what I mean is actually the technical aspect of installing a system needs to be at the level of the manufacturer specifications. And that includes designing the ductwork or the air delivery system the correct way. So we got dirty air filters, bad ductwork design, undersized duct. A lot of times, if your air handler is in a closet, it just doesn't have enough air going into the system. And so the system is starving and looking to get more air into it because of what the specifications of the system is. So every system has different amount of air volume that it needs to take in, a 2-ton, a 3-ton, or a 4-ton, all different volumes of air. So the way I like to explain it is a cube of air, right? Just imagine a cube of air, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. And these systems need to take in anywhere from 800 cubes to 2,000 cubes per minute. And you can't do that. I mean, the bigger the opening is, the faster the air will enter into the system. But the smaller it is, it's going to take long. It won't be able to. And I know it's like a lot of times it's very hard to fathom because we don't see air, right? So air is invisible. But if you relate it to water, it's a little bit easy to understand. So it's like saying you want to pump out. You have 1 million gallons of water. You want to pump out, 1,000 gallons per minute. Well, you're going to need a piping system to be able to deliver 1,000 gallons of water per minute out of this 1 million gallon tank. And so it's the same thing for air. If you don't have the proper ducts, you're never going to get that volume of air to satisfy the system according to the manufacturer specifications. And what you're going to have then is the higher bills, because a lot of times what I see out there is that systems will have, a system will be a 4-ton system, but the ductwork that's attached to it is suitable for a 2-ton system. So essentially what's being delivered is only 2 tons. That's it. But the client is being charged in terms of energy as if a 4-ton system is running. And not only that, but now it's taking twice the time to cool or heat up the home, because you're only delivering half the volume of air that's needed. So the system is going to work a lot longer, and because it's going to work a lot longer, it's going to be a lot more wear and tear on the parts, and that's going to cause higher repair costs, premature repair costs, or total replacement of the system very, very soon. So we have a lot of solutions for reducing the static pressure, and like I said, that's the first thing that our technicians focus on, is how we can get the client's system to operate at the proper static pressure levels. Our technicians first take the static pressure of the return plenum and the supply plenum, and then we get the total static pressure reading as well. What I want to go into next is proper ductwork design. So proper ductwork design starts right after the air leaves the actual air handler and enters into the plenum. So the plenum has to be the correct size. A lot of times contractors will put no plenum at all because they want to save a few $100 by not doing it, and they'll attach the return duct straight to the air handler or the furnace. And same thing on the supply side. They might have a plenum, but it's a shorter plenum, or a lot of times they use these coils that are, they're integrated with a plenum. So the plenum and the coil is actually one piece. So in terms of talking about pieces, that you should have either 3 to 4 different pieces of equipment inside of the attic space if it's installed in the attic. So you should have your return plenum, which is one piece, your air handler is another piece, and if you're doing an air handler, you probably don't have a coil because the coil is inside the air handler, and then you have the supply plenum, and then the ducts are attached to that. If you have a furnace, then it'll be return plenum, and then your furnace, then your evaporator coil, and then your supply plenum. And that's the proper setup. And when you measure it out, it's about 11 feet long. So your system in the attic is about 11 feet long. And air is very dynamic. It's a moving, living, breathing entity, and it needs time to straighten out. And that's why the proper size plenum is so important, right? So that the air pressurizes in there, it collects inside the plenum, and then it's being delivered into the motor. The motor is then spinning it past the evaporator coil and then into the supply plenum. The supply plenum is pressurizing with air and then letting it out into the individual ducts. So the ductwork also needs to be properly sized. All of our guys, they use ductulators, duct sizing chart, and they understand the volume of the room and what kind of volume of air this room is going to require. And from there, we're able to size the duct properly for that air to be delivered. So if you don't do that, then you're going to have poor airflow. The other thing about ductwork design is that it has to be installed properly. And what I mean by that is that it definitely needs to be strapped up, because if it's just laying around there, what happens is in the attic, you have what's called your ceiling rafters. And if the ductwork is laying on the ceiling rafters, what's going to happen is going to dip into the ceiling rafter. Well, every single dip, every single turn is impedance for the airflow. And what I mean by that is that think about driving a car, right? If you're driving your car, and let's say you're on the open highway, 10, I don't know which highway, maybe it's I-95 if you're on the East Coast, or the I-10 on the West Coast. But you're driving on this highway and just on a straight line, you can just hit the gas and probably be at 120, 130 miles per hour in no time. But let's say you have to take an exit, right? I mean, what happens to the car? The car has to slow down. If it doesn't slow down, you're gonna crash, right? And so there's the same thing with air. If in a straight line, the air can move at fast velocity, but once there's a turn for the air to go through, the air is going to slow down. And that's why you don't want to have, the ductwork sitting on top of your ceiling rafters, because there's going to be a lot of turbulence created inside of that ductwork, and you're not going to get the proper volume of air outside of your vent, and your static pressure is going to be increased. So the way we combat that is we make sure that we don't take unnecessary turns. We strap up all the ductwork, and that the duct itself, the duct run, is designed for efficiency. And that's the way to do it the right way. We also make sure that we have high flow registers installed. What I mean by that is that you have some that are stamp face, and then you have others that we call bar type. We do use the bar type registers just because the stamp face, again, they create impedance in the airflow, and it's going to affect the static pressure. And so, what every homeowner should really know about buying an HVAC system is the airflow delivery system, because a lot of times, when we have this thought of buying an air conditioning system, we just think of like this box on the outside of our house and our box on the inside, and whoever can sell me this box at a reasonable price, I'm going to do business with them. Contractors who are really not focused on doing it the right way, or really don't, just trying to make a transaction and not a solid relationship with their client, they're willing to do that, right? They're willing to sell them a box and a system rather, and call it a day. And then whose problem does it become when the system prematurely fails? There's repair costs or high energy bills. It's the client, it's you. You're going to have to pay for that, because the contractor is long gone. And I mean, most cases, homeowners do not know why their system is not operating efficiently. They don't even know that it's not operating efficiently. They just go ahead and accept the fact that, the system has failed in 7 or 10 years, or their bills are extremely high, but they don't even know that, hey, you could save a couple $100 if this system was dialed in properly. And I don't know about you, but a couple $100 means a lot to me per month, right? And so what the homeowner really needs to focus on is making sure that the contractor that you're hiring understands airflow delivery, right? And that they understand what static pressure is and how it affects the HVAC system, and the different signs of high static pressure inside the home. Like we have tools that can tell us that, but as for me, I can just go ahead and take a look at the system and know that there's a high static pressure. Like if I see undersized return duct, I already know that the static pressure is going to be higher than it needs to be. And since we've started checking static pressure in homes, I have to tell you, I mean, we have not except for the installs that we've done, we've never seen any home yet with proper static pressure. And it's a big issue, right? And it's the government is involved in this. That's why the Department of Energy did a report many years ago about how 90% of all homes out there are suffering from high static pressure and higher than usual energy bills, and it's really taking a toll on energy, on our resources. And it's something that we can easily solve by educating ourselves and having the right company do the work that's needed inside of your home. So if you also have high static pressure, the number one thing that everybody wants out of an air conditioning system is to provide comfort. It's going to actually, you're going to lack in that department, right? Your system is not going to provide you with the optimum levels of comfort because of the fact that it is suffering from high static pressure, and that's really what, you really haven't paid all this money for a new system to experience something like that. I know if I was to buy a system, I would want it to work at the optimal level so I get the most comfort that can be provided to me inside of my home. And I can't tell you how many clients I've seen that, they had their system installed and still it's not really, it's somewhat effective in their home, but not where it needs to be. There's hot and cold spots. So that's another thing. If you have high static pressure, you're going to have hot and cold spots inside of the home. And, you're going to have one section of your house hotter than the other section or cooler than the other section. And that really comes down to the air delivery system not being designed properly. So, like I said, our technicians, as they come out to your home, they're going to inform you if you have high static pressure, and we're going to get a second set of eyes out there to go ahead and confirm the findings of the first technician to make sure that the static pressure is dialed in to where it needs to be, because it's a very urgent and serious issue. If we just leave it like that and not let our clients know that, hey, this is what's going on with your system, we're actually doing a disservice to them and anybody that does that. So I always tell clients, hey, look, if they're like, I'm going to get another estimate, okay, great, go ahead and go get this other estimate. But look, if they don't mention static pressure to you, don't trust them. And it's that simple. If they don't mention static pressure, don't trust them. And really, I mean, there's other parts of the system that's scientifically based, but definitely airflow is the most important part of the system. So is refrigerant, and having the correct charge on the system as well. So a lot of times people will say that, oh, my system's working fine, and I'm okay, I don't need to address static pressure. I guarantee you that if you don't address the static pressure, or you think it's some kind of myth, your system is going to fail. You are going to pay higher energy bills, and you will be uncomfortable in your home, or you won't enjoy the max comfort that your system can give you. Do bigger ducts always mean better airflow? You don't want too big of a duct because you're going to lose pressure, right? If you have too many, the duct is oversized for the system, then that's not good either. But what it needs to be is it needs to be the proper size for the system and the proper size for the room that the system is delivering air to. So if you want to, maybe do some DIY stuff for your static pressure, start at the filter. Make sure that filter is always replaced. Make sure all your vents are open, because if your vents are closed, if any one of your vents are closed, what's going to happen is the static pressure is going to go up, because this duct is pushing out air, and the air cannot be delivered out of the system because you have the vent closed. And then what happens is that air starts backing up into the plenum and into the system, and the motor that's spinning is now working harder to get the air out of the system. So make sure all your vents are open. The other thing is that the return vent. A lot of times you have the return vent on the floor or on a wall, and what people will do is they'll put a piece of furniture over the return vent that's on the floor, or they'll put a piece of furniture or a bookshelf in front of the return vent that is on the wall, and that's a big no-no, because it's just like closing your nose and then saying, "Hey, I want you to breathe." Like, it's impossible, right? So the vents all need to be unrestricted for static pressure to be at the optimal levels below the max design pressure for the system. I mean, if you guys out there want us to come by and check on your static pressure, we can definitely set up a call for you and have our expert technicians out there to check static pressure. I can't tell you how important it is to make sure that the static pressure of your system is correct, and the duct layout of your system is a big part of that. So give us a call and we'll set you up with a time frame for a technician to come out and check your static pressure, and we're going to get it done right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our link below. We'll have more tips and episodes for you on this channel soon, talking about different things involved with your HVAC system. Hope this was pretty beneficial to you, the viewers out there, and hope to see you soon.